I'm going to make a video now to show you this new circle cutting jig. It goes on the medium bandsaw we have, the Grizzly bandsaw. It has a feature where you can start with your stock being oversized, and I'll explain exactly what I mean by that in a minute. But first I want to show you the jig itself. This is the way you'll find it in the shop on the shelf over there. You have to do a little putting together first, okay? So I'll do that for you now. This part is just here for convenience of storage, okay? You're going to take the handle loose, take the washer off, and there's a hole here, the hole. Put it this way. Put that in there. This is how you adjust the radius. You'll see more about that in a few minutes. Put the washer in the recess in the bottom, and put the little knob on here so you can tighten it in the right position when you get it adjusted. But for now, we're just going to put it in there and just snug it up a little bit. The other thing you have to take apart, it's this way for storage also, is you have to pull this out, and then this piece comes out. You want to keep those separate for now. Then, you want to open it up, and now you're ready to put it on to the saw. So you go over here, start up high, and put the blade in the little slot here, okay? Start up high, put the blade in. When you get even with this slot, set the whole thing down. And it should go down nice and flat on the table when you get it in the right position. There, it did, okay? So now it's down flat on the table. Now we got to put these other two parts on, because if we don't, it tips, okay? So it's important, don't leave these off, you'll have trouble. It slides in from the back this way, or it just goes up underneath. Now, if you can't see that, maybe we should just do it in another picture. And then you put this into the holes, and it holds it in there. Boom, done. Okay? So now, we're ready to mount our piece and make our cuts. But before we do that, I want to show you why this jig is, why we went to the trouble of making this jig. The old way, this was the jig. It's just a board with two cleats so that it fits in the miter slot and on the edge of the table and holds it steady. So you put this board on there by sliding the blade down through here, and you plunk it in position. Hopefully the front edge of the blade will line up with the line where the holes are. It might not though, because when you change the blade, you can change the tracking and make the blade run either a little more this way or a little more that way. So it might not line up with your line. With this jig, that's too bad. There's nothing you can do about it except change the tracking. So you could change the tracking to make it line up, but you can't change the jig. Then with this jig, the next thing you had to do was measure from the blade, make a mark, and put your 1/8 inch hole where you want your center to be. If one of these other myriad of holes from other users isn't one you want, you have to make your own. Okay? Then after you have that hole made correct distance from the blade, then you have to take your stock. Let's say this is your stock. Let's say this is a 16 inch circle. Let's say you wanted a 14 inch circle. You would have to take this, take your center, measure out here 7 inch radius, and you've got to make a spot here so that you can put this on the pin, and that spot where you made it exactly the right radius will be right at the blade. That's the only way you can start with this piece being oversized. So you have to cut one place on it to make it so it'll fit between the blade and the pin. And then you can turn it and make your circle. That's with this jig. Now, this new jig, you don't have to do quite so much preparation. Let's say we do want a 14 inch circle. This is 16 now. let's say we want a 14-inch circle out of this instead. What we do is we look at our gauge here. We push this in all the way. And we look at our gauge. This is diameters in inches, and this is radii. It says radius for this, diameter for this. These marks here, A, B, C, D, E, A plus, and so on, are for these holes where the pins can go. So 14 inches, I need to get one of these marks lined up with the 14-inch diameter, like right there. And it may not be exact, so if I want it really close, I can take my ruler and measure from the blade to the center of the hole, and I can loosen my handle underneath and make my small adjustment till I get the center of the hole, the little pinhole, exactly at 7 inches, and then I tighten that knob underneath. Now it's set, the radius is set. Now I got to put a pin in the right place. I use the C mark to 14, so I want to put the pin in the C hole. These are some different length pins and a little magnet to keep from losing the pins. Okay? In the C hole, we put this 1/8-inch pin. Now, the big feature of this, well, this was easy, right? Yeah. So now, I pull this way. See, the top part slides on the bottom part. Bottom part stays stuck to the table. That gives me room here to put my oversized stock on the pin. And my oversize here could be as big as this. It could go all the way from here to here, as long as it misses the blade when I put it on the pin. So I can have a weird shape, I can have a square, I can have too big a circle, I can have something that's really not any particular shape, and I can fit it on there. And I don't have to pre-cut any place to exactly the right measurement. Now, before we actually do that, the other feature of this is that if the blade is tracking somewhere and the pin line here should be even with the front of the blade, with the teeth. And it's not, okay? That's where this knob comes in. With this knob, we can squeeze, we can adjust how far back or forward the top part goes. And I'm moving it now so that I want it this way actually. Pull it so that these holes come up closer to the front edge of the blade, and that's pretty close. So we stop there. Then you can tighten this little wing nut here to hold it in place, but it really won't creep anyway. So now we've got this in line with the holes. We've got our radius set correctly. I got my oversized stock, so I pull this back. I put this back on the pin, which I was lucky to find the first time, but maybe I won't be so lucky this time. There it is. Well, we'll find it. There we go. Now, I'll get it close, but not engaged. Now I'm going to have to turn on the noisy machines, because I'm going to show you how we actually will cut this. I think you got it figured out already, but we're going to do it. So my dust collector's running. My dust gate is open now. We're all clear here. I've got this is at a reasonable height. I'm ready to start the blade. Now, I want to hold it so it doesn't rotate yet, because I'm going to push it forward till it stops. But that's where we set it so the line of holes is even with the front of the blade. But now that I've got in there to the right place, surface. And now I've got my 14-inch circle. So, a lot easier than the old jig. Takes a little more setup time, but you get a very nice result. And incidentally, if your wood is thicker, don't force the saw. It tends to push the blade out a little bit and it changes the diameter. So just turn slowly when you're cutting a circle. I could go quick because this is just cardboard. But turn slowly when you're cutting a circle and the blade will not deflect so much and you'll get a more accurate circle. That's it. Now this scale is self-explanatory pretty much, except over here it says A plus 16. What does that mean? That means if you put the pin in this hole, opposite this line that's labeled A plus 16, you're going to get whatever A, this is A line, whatever A is set at plus 16 inches. Okay? So if you set A at 6 inches, you're going to get a 24-inch circle if you put the pin here, A plus 16. You're going to get an A plus 20, a B plus 20, and a C plus 20. This thing will cut a 3-foot circle and this jig by putting the pin out here. So it'll do, now it won't go down any smaller than this bandsaw will cut, which is about 5 inches. I think it's here on the chart. Yes, it is. It's 5 inches. We have a 1/2-inch blade in here, and a 1/2-inch blade on a bandsaw will cut a down to as small as a 5-inch diameter circle, but no smaller. Don't try to make it smaller. You'll just bind the blade. It'll mess up your work. If you keep forcing it, it may kink the blade and may break the blade. So 5 inches. This little sign is on every bandsaw we got in the shop. So that's basically it. When you're done, of course, you can put it back together like you found it and put it back on the shelf. So I hope you find it useful. I think it works pretty good.